In the sunny Bay of Plenty, Kiwifruit is sold as one of New Zealand's cleanest success stories. But beyond the picture-perfect rows of vines, one migrant worker says he uncovered something far dirtier, darker, and far more violent. This documentary aims to present an honest and unfiltered account of the case surrounding the alleged $3 million Kiwifruit kidnapping case. The central figure in this unfolding Kiwifruit criminal saga is a 33-year-old Indian national publicly identified only by his surname, Singh. The man originally arrived on New Zealand shores in the year of 2013, holding what appeared to be a legitimate student visa. However, this student visa and its foundational paperwork was fundamentally compromised from the beginning. In the year of 2016, a routine audit by Immigration New Zealand exposed severe discrepancies in his documentation. Officials discovered that Singh's claimed academic qualification, a Bachelor of Business Administration, supposedly earned from the University of Lucknow, was entirely fraudulent. Singh maintained that he had actually completed the degree, but at a different institution, placing the blame squarely on a corrupt offshore immigration agent. He also claimed the offshore immigration agent charged him a staggering $30,000 fee to prepare the bogus visa application. Despite his explanations, the state's response was uncompromising, as providing false information to immigration authorities is a strict criminal offense. Consequently, his crucial post-study work visa application was formally rejected in June 2017, instantly transforming him into an undocumented overstayer, stranded in a foreign land and suffocated by the immense debt owed to his overseas agent. Singh was forced to vanish into the underground economy. He relocated to the northern coast of New Zealand's North Island, the Bay of Plenty, securing grueling, off-the-books, manual labor on local orchards. Stripped of his legal rights, this physical labor in the fruit orchards earned him a meager hourly wage of just $18 paid strictly in untraceable cash. For anyone willing to prey on the vulnerable, it was the perfect setup. While working under the radar, Singh was approached by industry insiders offering a highly lucrative, seemingly effortless secondary source of income. The proposition was simple: open a local bank account, allow funds to flow through it, and retain a 2% commission on the total amount of money. Desperate to clear the crippling $30,000 debt, the migrant worker agreed to the arrangement. He was quickly introduced to a sophisticated criminal network that he simply referred to as the syndicate. The financial scale of the ensuing operation was nothing short of staggering. Almost every single day, large cash deposits nearing the $10,000 threshold were funneled directly into his freshly opened personal account. Once the electronic funds cleared, Singh was instructed to physically withdraw the cash from local ATMs and hand the money directly to a designated syndicate handler. When the banking security systems inevitably detected the suspicious activity and froze his account, the network simply ordered him to open a fresh bank account at a different banking provider. This back-and-forth cycle of opening and burning accounts occurred up to 5 separate times between the years of 2021 and 2022. The corporate giant Zespri, which oversees the global export of New Zealand kiwifruit, attempts to police the industry by hiring private investigation firms to screen their contractors. But according to those working on the inside, these corporate security measures can be easily outsmarted. Organized crime groups will often hide behind wealthy people with a clean criminal record, using them to set up fake companies that look legitimate on paper. But once one of those companies is banned from the supply chain, the front person is flown out of the country, and almost immediately, a new company with a new face appears in its place. The use of disposable money mules like Mr. Singh is a critical component of this strategy, distancing the ones pulling the strings from the crime itself. By late 2023, the reality of Singh's criminal involvement had finally become clear to him when a concerned friend warned him about the severe legal consequences of his actions, acting as a designated money laundering mule. Refusing to open any more bank accounts, Singh began aggressively demanding his promised but unpaid 2% commissions and threatened to expose the entire tax evasion ring to the authorities. The syndicate's response was immediate. The handlers explicitly ordered him to keep his mouth shut, warning that if he was to speak, his family back in India would be the ones paying the price. And in the month of November 2023, the escalating tension would reach a violent boiling point. Singh thought he was attending a rural meeting in a small agricultural settlement. Instead, he says he walked straight into the middle of an ambush. 3 vehicles arrived at the scene. A group of men surrounded him, and one attacker struck him with a baseball bat before he was dragged into the back of a car. The men then drove Singh to an isolated rural road where the brutal assault continued. Bleeding and terrified, Singh says he was forced to sign unknown documents before being issued a final warning: if he went to the police, he would be killed. Afraid of being deported, imprisoned, or what the group said would happen if he was to speak, Singh eventually fled to a local Sikh temple in Tauranga. At the temple, Singh met Baljinder Singh, a veteran Kiwifruit worker, who took him in and urged him to go to the authorities. In December 2023, Singh finally sat down with Inland Revenue investigators. He explained how the multi-million-dollar cash operation worked and gave them a detailed account of the violent abduction he says he had survived. Given their explicit responsibility to report serious harm, tax officials assured the whistleblower that his assault complaint would be forwarded directly to New Zealand police. But it never was. For 18 months, the kidnapping claim sat inside the Inland Revenue Department, unseen, unacted on, and unreported. Inland Revenue would later justify its decision not to tell the police, pointing to confidentiality rules under the Tax Administration Act, but the result was extraordinary. Local detectives were allegedly left completely in the dark about the violent organized crime claims unfolding in their own backyard. Police were only alerted to Singh's case in May 2025, after investigative journalists began asking direct questions about the syndicate. Once the media inquiry shattered the bureaucratic silence, the criminal investigation moved aggressively. Within a week of learning about the brutal 2023 assault, detectives were formally interviewing Singh. It was during this phase that the terrifying scale of the operation was finally unveiled. Investigators found that in just a 6-month period during the year of 2021, more than $3.2 million had passed through just 2 of Singh's accounts. Despite moving these massive amounts of illicit capital, Singh alleged he never received a single cent of his promised commission. Despite the 18 months which had passed, and any chance of gathering fresh forensic leads being badly damaged, police were still able to build a case against the alleged perpetrators. While investigative journalists were left to do the heavy lifting, publicly exposing the syndicate's financial ties where government agencies had failed, the actual police operation went completely dark. That silence finally broke in February 2026 with the announcement of a major legal breakthrough. Authorities arrested a 36-year-old man, charging him with serious kidnapping and wounding offenses related to the 2023 ambush. Appearing in the Tauranga District Court, the defendant was granted interim name suppression by an unnamed presiding judge. The defendant's passport was also confiscated to reduce the risk of him leaving the country before he was released on bail, pending trial. Yet the case would still fall short of providing full accountability. According to court filings, 2 other co-defendants, as implied by Mr. Singh, were allegedly involved in the kidnapping. The only problem was, one was now dead, while the other had already fled New Zealand, placing the still-alive defendant outside the immediate reach of local law enforcement. Singh's ordeal was not presented as an isolated case of exploitation within the Bay of Plenty. As the journalistic investigation widened, a second whistleblower emerged with an even larger financial footprint. A former international student revealed that more than $10.5 million had allegedly been funneled through his personal bank accounts. These transactions reportedly occurred in a tight 6-month window, stretching from August 2021 to February 2022. The most disturbing detail was that the student was not even physically present in New Zealand when the money movement occurred. Stranded overseas by the 2020 pandemic border closures, the student said his banking passwords were stolen by an associate linked to the same handler who managed Singh. Deposits of up to $10,000 were reportedly processed more than 20 times in a single day, before being followed by rapid cash withdrawals. When the student eventually returned to New Zealand and confronted those involved about the frozen accounts, he said he received the same chilling threat: forget everything or be killed. For the wider Bay of Plenty community, these allegations cast a long shadow over an industry built on trust, labor, and seasonal work. Community advocates such as Baljinder Singh, the veteran Kiwifruit worker, have argued that legitimate orchard owners and honest contractors are being undercut by the ghost companies operating through cash payments and exploited workers. He also warned that cash payments can make it easier for criminals to hide dirty money, especially when exploited workers are the ones being pressured into helping move it. The fallout from the Kiwifruit tax scam allegations has now become part of a wider debate about how New Zealand responds to complex criminal networks. In December 2025, lawmakers released a 5-year transnational, serious, and organized crime strategy aimed at breaking down the bureaucratic barriers between siloed state agencies. Cabinet Minister Casey Costello said the government needed a unified quote-unquote data lake, a shared pool of information between police, immigration, and tax officials. A ministerial advisory panel led by Steve Simon described the 18-month failure to report Singh's kidnapping claim as a textbook example of government dysfunction. The panel also recommended that high-risk industries, including horticulture and construction, should be banned from paying workers in untraceable cash. Yet the man whose evidence helped expose the alleged Kiwifruit tax evasion scheme remains at risk of removal from New Zealand. Despite providing information that contributed to civil action and a criminal arrest, Singh remains in serious immigration jeopardy because of the false documents tied to his original visa application. In the eyes of immigration officials, His cooperation does not erase the fact that he is still unlawfully in the country. Former Associate Immigration Minister Chris Penk declined to intervene in the case, suggesting that if Singh were deported, he could still assist the ongoing New Zealand prosecution from offshore. Former Cabinet Minister and Singh's newly appointed immigration lawyer, Matt Robson, publicly criticised that decision. Robson claimed that deporting a key Crown witness would undermine the integrity of the justice system, as well as expose Mr. Singh to retaliatory violence in India. For future whistleblowers, critics such as Robson argue that the message the government is sending could be chilling: cooperate with the authorities, expose an alleged criminal network, and still face deportation at the end of it. The alleged Bay of Plenty Kiwifruit tax scam exposes an uncomfortable reality. Behind a trusted agricultural industry, investigators and journalists have uncovered claims of cash labor, tax fraud, migrant exploitation, and violent intimidation. And as New Zealand grapples with its bureaucratic blind spots, one whistleblower's future remains uncertain. What are your thoughts on the Inland Revenue Department's failure to pass a violent kidnapping complaint to police for 18 months? And when it comes to Singh himself, what should matter more? Protecting a whistleblower who helped expose an alleged criminal network, or enforcing immigration laws against someone who remained in New Zealand even after problems with his documents came to light? Share your perspectives in the comments below. If you found this documentary informative, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more in-depth explorations of often overlooked, lesser-known stories. Who else would you like to see us detail next? Your engagement helps us continue to shed light on otherwise unheard narratives.